Thanks for joining us today for Empowering FE Learning. This is a joint live stream season with Hachette Learning and FE News, and today we're going to be looking at construction and building services engineering, BSE. We've got two really cool guests. We've got Hasting-Evans from NOCN, we've got Nikki Davis from Leeds College of Building, and my co-host is Tom. Hey Tom, how are you?
Hi Gavin, hi, nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. We're live, everyone. So if in the duration of the episode, if you want to ask any questions, we'll do our very best to answer those. If you can't answer them live on the show, then we'll ask someone who could. But I think with our guests, I think we're going to be great to be able to answer these. Now, maybe just setting the scene a little bit. Construction, really major growth area and major priority for the government. 1.5 million homes to be built, which is kind of a few by 2031. But without educators to be able to equip and train those construction workers, those 1.5 million homes are not going to be built. So there's also been a little bit of development as well. So recently, last month, which is like literally, I can't believe we're in May already. So in April, we had the £600 million investment to train new construction workers and to fill like those 35,000 vacancies. Also in that time as well, so things are moving rapidly. We've had shorter duration apprenticeships announced around construction, employer incentives for those, changes around English and maths like requirements, which you think for construction would be kind of key because like, you know, ratios and stuff is kind of important. But we also want to explore within this around what could be done in the education and skills system and using technology and blended learning to support this. And Tom, like Hachette have been sort of looking in quite a lot of detail around different ways that we can explore with blended learning.
Yeah, absolutely, Gavin. So as you say, there's a major drive for building new homes as part of the Labour government's new policies. And thinking about construction and BSE as a sector, there is a need for 100,000 new employees and replacements every year just to maintain that workforce. So yes, it's a massive number. So quite a few challenges facing the sector right now. There is obviously that shortfall in the workforce. There is a massive need for green skills to retrofit over 14 million homes by 2035 as well. Obviously, net zero, green skills is a really big part of the drive of the government. And there's loads of interesting work being done by various different people around the country. GSAP at Exeter College, Quantum, looking at sustainable low carbon technologies and retrofit skills. So there's lots of ways in which the industry is trying to meet those growing needs and skills. There's changes to CS, labour carding expected in the coming years, and of course new short courses to upskill in other areas as well. And obviously we can't ignore the Grenfell tragedy and thinking about competency across the sector. What can education do to meet those needs, to make sure the workforce has the skills and competency required across. And then thinking about qualification as well, many routes to being qualified in whatever field you might be in can be complex, can be quite unclear. And so what we're doing, what can we do to support colleges, training providers, industry, lecturers, learners at all different levels to achieve that level of qualification and base level of competency? Particularly, what can technology and different forms of blended learning do to support them both in the classroom and on site? So yeah, we've seen a real demand for interactive, bite-sized digital resources to kind of supplement what you typically find and expect in a learning environment. So yeah, really interesting time for the sector.
Yeah, really huge amount of change. Huge skills gaps to be able to fill as well, and also bringing in new people, reskilling, upskilling young people, because the age the average age of construction workers is getting older, and then that drop off. So exciting times really around how can the FE and skills sector support this. So should I bring in our guests? So can I bring in Graham Hasting-Evans from NOCN? Graham, how are you?
Fine. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh no, thanks for coming on, Graham. And Nikki Davis from Leeds College of Building. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh no, thanks so much for joining us today. So Graham, can I kick things off with yourself? So from an awarding organisation perspective, and also Graham, I know you've been on your travels. I know you just come back from India. I know there's loads going on in the Gulf. So as in there as well, what lessons can we learn? How can we increase the number of people entering the construction sector, and how can blended learning help with this?
Okay. In terms of increasing the numbers, I think I've got a complex answer to it. Sorry about that. I think it starts with who do we try to get in and our approach to employing them. And I'll give you an example. We've got nearly 1 million youngsters, young people below the age of 24 that are NEETs. We've got to try and do something about those. That does present a challenge because we've probably got to bring them in as part-time to start with. We've got to get them through college courses, build their confidence and all of those types of things. So I think there's a bit about where do we get our people from? Yeah, that's key to it. Within that, there's selling the benefits of the construction industry. It is actually a good industry to work in, good career prospects, well paid, all of those things. When we've actually started to get people in to be trained and developed, the next problem we've got to sort out is tutors. Yes, and we've been around this about we don't pay them enough. We've got to find a way of properly rewarding tutors so we can recruit enough of them and we can develop it. And I think we need a blend of guest tutors as well, because with the changes in AI, new technology, green skills, we need to be able to support our 5,000 tutors. That's roughly about the number that there are in FE. It's some extra support and help coming right from the coalface of what's happening in industry. So I think there's an issue about capacity building that's got to be tackled. I hope some of the 600 million that you mentioned through the construction skills mission, which I think is a great initiative. We've all got to get behind that skills mission and really drive it forward. And I think so that gets part of the problem. The next is to simplify the way we train people and speed it up. We need to simplify EPA. There's a lot of work. Nikki and I have shared this. We have an agreement about making it better and simplify the understanding of how you get into construction. What are the routes? And I sit on the Construction Leadership Council. I sit on the People and Skills Group around routes into industry. So we need to sort of simplify the route to get you into industry. So that's clearer, better understood qualifications. And I'll bring up an example from abroad. We currently have got five and nearly 6 different sets of qualifications being developed. So you've got obviously England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. Everyone's different. You've still got the old CITB NOCs, and the super sectors under Grenville is developing another set. That's 6 types of qualification frameworks. Now that is bonkers. We need one. You mentioned that I've come back from India. India has a workforce of 70 million in construction. They have one occupational standard for every occupation across the whole of India. So what they've done is to work out what do you need to have nationally, which is obviously the standards and the competencies, which is going to come out of the Grenville work more than anything else. And what do you devolve? Because we need a proper system of devolution, and we've not got that right. India's got that right. We haven't. Patchwork quilt. So I think we need to sort out that whole approach. And within that, we need to ensure we reduce the numbers of people dropping out of the process. Yes.
Yep. So
when you put 100 people in the beginning of the funnel, we get nearer to 100 people into work at the end of it, not 45 So we need to try and improve that, because there's a massive drop-off. And that's a bigger problem from the perspective of industry as anybody. So I think that's all the things we need to tackle, and I think the skills mission needs to tackle that. In terms of making it more efficient, it's essential that we use blended learning to drive things. There's a worldwide shortage of welders. I can tell you from both the Gulf and the Far East and Asia and the UK. So you can use new technology and blended learning to actually speed up the development of welders. But that's not the only one. That's just a quick example. We have got to use blended learning for AI, for green skills understanding, for technical understanding. You can train somebody to drive a crane. You don't need the crane. You can do it using blended learning, or at least get them so far. Let's take the example of a pilot. When we take somebody on to be a pilot, we stick them in a simulator, don't we? We don't say there's a jumping jack, get up there and have a go. So that type of thinking we need to take on board and take into the way we train people, so we get people through more quickly than we currently are doing that. That won't work for all. I've got close friends with the electrical community, and they do want to ensure that people are properly trained. So the ability to speed it up is going to vary by the occupation, but overall across the sector, we need to do that.
Yeah, I think you solved it, Graham, to be honest with you.
Trying to do it is the hard thing. You know, it's easy to say, isn't it? It's easy to say, let's go and do that, you know. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Graham. It's really, really interesting to hear those examples. Nikki, from your perspective, what's Leeds College of Building doing to integrate technology into teaching and learning, and how effective has that been in your experience?
Yeah, we've been developing sort of technology. Really, COVID and that crisis really did develop people's skills very, very quickly overnight, and we're trying to build on that now. We've established a digital and AI committee to make sure that the investments that we're making are right, whether that's for students and the engagement that we want from them, whether it's to improve the efficiency for teachers in terms of planning, or whether it's the technology that's used out on site that we need our students to learn. So we're very conscious that it's an easy area to make investments in, but they're not the right one. So and I think there's probably a little track record of doing that sometimes in FE, of investing and not seeing those returns in terms of student benefits. So we're really conscious that we want to invest in the right way, and we've done that over the sort of past few years. Things like virtual welding, which is a great example of where students can access the welding experience in a really safe way. So students who are on other courses other than our welding apprenticeship can experience it, because they may not know that that's something that they want to go into, and you certainly wouldn't let them loose on a welder to start with. So just having that virtual experience just exposes them to other aspects of the construction and built environment, which is really beneficial. We've just, through the LSIF projects, invested in immersive classrooms. We've now got one at each site, and those will be up and running over the summer. And again, that's around how do we bring in the construction industry into the college so that we can make it safe and accessible for a wide range of students, and how can we make some of the aspects, show them the things that actually on site might be really quite dangerous if you're not properly qualified and trained.
Yep.
And show them, what could happen. But actually just to expose them to those environments in a really safe and controlled way. So that's where we're taking sort of the digital side of things, and we'll continue to keep investing in equipment to make sure that we're using the most up-to-date surveying equipment. It's really expensive, and that's where we're hoping that some of the investment we'll be able to spend, because it's really important that our students are ready to use this technology when they head out on site. We don't want to train them in things that are out of date, and there is always a question of balancing the specification of the awarding body with what's happening out on site, and there's a bit of a lag with sometimes how that works, but we can add more value to the courses through engagement with employers. If employers say to us, we're actually using X piece of software, then we can go out and invest in that, knowing that those students are going to use it. There is always something though around making sure students have that real good underpinning knowledge. So if the technology isn't there, if that's not the world that they go into, or it fails, they need to know actually how does that technology work? What do I need to do to replace that? And actually that gives them a really sound basis for their career development. So we've got, you know, lots of technology that we use in the college, but our focus now is making the right investments for the right areas.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point around like the cost of kit basically, and making sure people are up to date. Can we talk about digital resources and blended learning, and particularly how that helps with industry work placements and on-site apprenticeships?
Yeah, I think it really helps in the preparation for those. A lot of students will come in and they've never been on a construction site. Everyone's walked past them, but actually in those environments, it's very different. You know, so it helps in bringing that environment into the college environment and making sure that we're exposing them to actually this is what it feels like. And it helps to showcase those areas that could be unsafe if we put them into those environments, and gives them the opportunity to practice the skills, which I think is really important. I suppose as well we have to keep pace with the students. What they use in their day-to-day lives is very, very different to what I use as being older, and we have to engage the students in this. So that it's relevant and they will access it, rather than thinking, oh, you know, we think they'll use this particular app, but actually let's talk to them about it, and actually will they use it? Because I think they're a really important part of the journey. How people are learning is changing, and we can see that through AI, and the skills that we need to teach people are different. In terms of, are we asking the right questions? Are we, you know, and how do you phrase questions to get the answers that you want through technology? So the skills that we need to teach people are changing, but also how students are coming to us through schools and through their own experience is different and changing at a pace that we really need to keep up with. Because if you're 2 years behind, then that can grow very, very quickly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's really cool. Tom, I don't know if you wanted to ask Graham around opportunities around tech, because it's interesting to be able to see it from provider perspective, isn't it, John? And to be able to keep that, like you're saying, Nikki, kit and up to date and resources for learners. But I don't know, Tom, I'll hand over to you. It's interesting, isn't it, around trying to get the balance right here to be able to actually equip people, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a high stakes industry, so it's really important that learners are entering the workforce with the skills that they need and the competency that they need. And yeah, I think it's really interesting to hear about the welding and the virtual welding examples. And Graham, you also mentioned EPA earlier. So I suppose from your perspective at NOCN, where do you see the opportunities to use technology to improve that training and particularly the assessment experience for learners? Is there an opportunity there?
I think there is. I think we can speed up and improve using the new technology, using AI. We as an organisation are using AI to help us design qualifications, to help us design assessments and exams. We can actually use some of that new technology in terms of more efficiently being able to test people and collect information and evidence of them doing things. I think we'll see a move away from the current model of EPA. And if we use new technology in a clever way, we'll be able to capture evidence of the achieving competency during the period of their apprenticeship, rather than trying to test absolutely everything in 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, right at the end. So I think there's real opportunities for us here, which has implications obviously for the training providers and for the employers in terms of collecting that digital evidence and us using it for assessment. But I think that it's got to be the way forward. Within all of that, there's the thing that a regulator like Ofwat is worried about plagiarism, about malpractice, and those type of things. I listened to the radio this morning about Leeds University and their approach of red, amber, green to assessments. So I think all of that will happen, but I'm confident we'll get there. Yeah, and I think there's a real opportunity for us working with the training providers to develop a much more streamlined way of doing this than the current clunky, quite expensive or difficult way of doing it. Yeah, or I would say difficult way of doing things. But it does mean our employers are going to have to come on board. And I think one of the challenges for us is that many of the employers are older, or their management are older. They understand, get them in a workshop, let's watch them build a wall and windows and whatever. And we've got to bring the employers on board with competency can be measured in different ways. Yeah. So but we're on a journey.
That's really interesting. Can I ask one thing? Because I know that we said earlier around trying to speed things up to be able to get people work ready, but at the same time, there's that balance of working with at times quite complicated kit. So to be able to understand how it works in the good and the bad, because things don't always go to plan, and particularly on site when it's it could be very dangerous kit. What are your thoughts around shorter duration courses, or maybe additional sort of courses to better? I've done the international sign for stackable skills, can't go a day without this. But like, what do we need to be doing to be able to speed things up, but also have that quality there? What do we need to do to be able to deliver that, and how can we use technology to be able to enable that? Nikki, or Graham, you talk to you first, when you come.
No, let Nikki know.
No, I think it's a really interesting question, because it's I think the reaction to shorter duration apprenticeships has been a bit mixed from our employers, and I think actually it's where the combination of foundation apprenticeships and shorter duration, it's about the training being right for that individual student and or apprentice or employee as to what they need at the time. So I think we need a range of qualifications ranging from the sort of the micro credentials right the way through to apprenticeships, but recognizing that for apprenticeships, which is the bulk of what we do, 16-year-olds need time to develop. They aren't fully formed employees by the time they finish their apprenticeship. And actually what they need sometimes is time around some of those broader social skills. And we can see the impact of lockdown. You can also start to see the impact of the digital effects on young people, and the communication skills that we need to help them develop, because they are changing. So I think it's just having that breadth of offer to be able to say to an employer, these are all the different things we can do, and you tailor it to the employer in the right way, rather than saying we're going to shorten all apprenticeships or we're going to take English and maths out. It has to be the right thing for that individual, otherwise they won't succeed.
Yeah, no, really good, Nikki. Graham, what was you going to add? Sorry.
No, I was going to say something similar. I mean, in terms of short duration, there is a real mixed reaction to it, and I think personally, my experience is that you can speed some of this up, but not for every occupation. You've got to be quite structured about where you do that and how you do that, and for some, the use of a large block of training at the beginning. It might be a boot camp or something else. So different approaches is for different occupations will then allow you to start to speed up some of that process. I think we need to make sure that in assessment terms, we focus on the health and safety parts of it. Yes. And make sure we don't actually overlook those bits. Yeah. That's a priority area, and I think it's having oversight, and maybe Ofqual having oversight, that they know the assessments are consistent. So we don't get the situation which we have had with the old NVQ system was not very qualified. Sorry, that was my joke when I was an employer. Yeah, and that was quite a common joke. Actually, it wasn't mine. It's the variability of somebody coming at you with a certificate saying I'm qualified to do whatever it happens is, and that's not the case. So if we're going for shorter term apprenticeships, we've got to be able to ensure the quality, and that's the big worry from the employers. They've got Grenville. They know that the construction regulator is around the corner, and quite rightly so. They've got to ensure somebody is competent, yes, and therefore we've got to have a really good and robust quality assurance process between us as awarding bodies and Ofqual and the colleges and the training providers and the employers. That's got to be coherent and work. And if we don't, then the danger is having gone up the ladder, because quality has improved, we'll go down the snake and we'll be back to where we were in 2011.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're nearly out of time, but I want to ask one extra thing actually around how do we increase diversity in construction and BSE? Nikki, you smiled on that one. Just a quick couple of thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's not a quick answer.
I know it's not, and unfortunately, I was hoping we could have a bit more time for this.
It's not a quick answer at all. I think there's a range of things. It's all about it's just about getting. I suppose there are a lot of things that would need to change to address diversity, or just to increase the number of people. To hit that 100,000 people, there's a lot of things that need to change. We need better careers advice in schools. We need the employment within the industry to be more secure. That relies on government and procurement agencies to have longer term contracts to give that stability to the industry so they can invest with confidence. We need to have access to teachers, as we've mentioned before, so that we can actually train. There isn't a college that I speak to that doesn't have a waiting list for construction. The demand from students is not the issue. The issue is there aren't enough apprenticeship vacancies within the construction industry. So if I had one wish, it would be that the government would invest, and it is an investment, it's not support, invest in incentives for employers to take on particularly young apprentices, the 16 to 18-year-olds, because we know what the NEET figures are. We know what the life chances of people who are NEET become. Those are very, very expensive to fix later on. If we can get them into good, well-paid jobs now, that doesn't become an issue later on. So that would be my one wish. But we could do an entire 3-day podcast on that one.
Graham, how about you? How do you think around we can increase inclusion and diversity in construction and BSE? And what would be your one wish?
One wish, it's promotion. A really good campaign to promote as diversity is absolutely essential. We won't get the workforce without that, but it's the way we promote ourselves as an industry so that everybody feels welcome to come and work in it and sees the benefit of working in it.
Yeah. No.
And I agree completely with everything that Nikki said. She's absolutely right. Yeah.
No. Really, really cool. What a really cool episode today. Thank you everyone for joining us. It was really, really good. Next week is actually Construction Week, 7th to the 9th of May. So really good time to be able to be thinking about all these things before UK Construction Week. Next week, we're all going to be looking around engineering. So we're looking forward to you joining us on Thursday or 10 a.m. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Graham, Nikki, Tom, really, really cool episode. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.